Hey, hey, I'm sending you NFA high fives, and this is the last Max Potential Habits video of 2019. Woo, woo. So many good things happened this year, and we wanted to put together for you a highlight reel of the top 3 Max Potential habits of some of our rock star guests for 2019. So get ready, write their tips down, because success leaves clues, and all the experts that we have on, we always ask what their top 3 Max Potential habits are. This is a highlight reel. If you want to listen to the full version, which is almost 2 hours long, we've broken it up into part 1 and part 2 in the Max Potential Habits podcast. Go ahead and listen there after you watch this, and you will get to have a lot of incredible tips for the year. Thank you so much for being a loyal watcher of this YouTube channel. You rock. I am sending you big, giant high fives, hugs, love. I appreciate your support. You rock. Enjoy the show. All right. Tell us your top 3 Max Potential habits that you believe got you where you are today.
Oh yeah, the Max Potential habits. One is I am super incredibly high integrity about everything I do. I do not like being late. I do not like not following through. And I think it speaks volumes about the pace at which I've been able to progress in all areas of my life, whether it's football, whether it's this profession here. And so for me, when I say integrity, it's not just doing the right thing. It's doing what you said you're going to do. That's it. So I'm very keen on what I say I'm going to do. Like I don't put a lot out there because I'm going to do all of this. That's a big piece. Is being very clear of showing up, because when somebody feels respected like that goes a long way. And I think all your success lives and dies in the dark. It's the conversation had about you in a private room, which will make your business or your life, whatever, live or die. So if somebody says something that's bad to say about you, that's because you did them wrong. And don't think because you did something wrong and nobody knows, it's not going to come back. It always does. What you do in the dark comes in the light. So integrity, it's the one thing I hammer on to my kids big. It's like, you got to be a person of your word in all aspects. And yes, that's one piece. The other one is realizing I'm not going to die. I don't know if it's a habit, but when I look at a lot of, that's weird to do it out of preference. I realize without a preface, it sounds odd. Like, you're going to die. Just so you guys know, you're going to die.
Yeah.
At some point. I mean, you're not going to die if you take this scary leap. That's a thing for me. And so I look at things, and I've found that along my life's journey, all the things that I was afraid of, I was afraid for a reason, because it had some sort of importance. And what scared me was the thing that I didn't know could happen. I always focus on the unknown negative. This is going to go wrong. This is going to be bad. And then I look back at my college coach, and he was like, hey, I never want you to get into a football game on your first rep, be the first time you've taken a snap. I was like, what do you mean? Like, the first rep, it's the beginning of the game. It could have been another snap. He goes, no, you got to visualize it. And when you visualize, don't visualize yourself making a missed tackle or dropping a ball. Like, visualize that you killed that play, that you had the best play. So it's like, you show up there, you've already done this. It's like clockwork. And so for me, I'm really big on making sure that I show up and do things in a different stance, different perspective than most people would. So I go into things realizing I'm not going to die, and my focus goes towards heavy on the positive. I envision all in that unknown that scares me. What is the unknown positive? What's the unknown great? And so I'm always focused on that. That's what the Ninja Warrior was. I'm telling you, everybody was like, this guy's too big. It's just not going to happen. If I'd have focused on I'm too big, in the moment it got harder, I'd been like, I'm too big. It's okay. Yeah. I was like, no. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to hit that buzzer right there. And so the perspective changes, because where my focus goes, energy flows. So I'm always looking at things from a stance of, I'm not going to die. And then the last one is, I guess, habit-wise, I don't know how you would look at this as a habit, but I want to make sure that I communicate to everybody at the level they need to be communicated to. So for my kids, with my wife, with my clients, I don't try to highball it, go big. I realize that my job is to connect with human beings, and no matter what it is, and that comes with me. Covey says, treat everybody the same by treating everybody different. And I love that one. So in my life, my kids, I treat them the same by treating them different. Like, I'll get that difference from them. My clients the same way. Like, I realize everybody has a different need, and that gives me a lot of empathy and compassion for the world, realizing that just because it frustrates me doesn't mean it's any different. Or like the whole thing with like people saying, oh, you had a really tough, situation. Like, and I see people in the world like, well, you didn't go through what I went through, so it's difficult, and you can't even, it's like, yeah, but if you think about the emotional impact, if we had to put on a scale, like the emotional Richter scale, me going through what I went through for me was high. At this point, looking back, like I navigated, like I might have been like an 8 for me. But as some kid who might have had a silver spoon, when mom and dad, took them out of a sport, that could have been a 10 for them.
Yeah.
The emotional Richter scale could have been so emotionally, relatively, that person did feel something. Yeah, they didn't feel my thing, but is that a moment for me to step in and make them feel worse? Like,
right.
No, like it's a relative thing. So for me, I look at every human I'm around and what's going on in their heart. My habit is to lean towards the aspect of, I don't know what their story is, what their relative pain is. And so if I'm really going to be the guy that you see talking like this, I got to show up with integrity and be the guy that lives and loves people the way they need to be.
What would you say are the top 3 max potential habits that got you where you are today? And we could go either Instagram habits or just general. And I think we've given so many incredible Instagram tips. Let's go with your general habits. What would you say are the top 3 habits that got you where you are today?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we actually talked about this before we started recording, but number one, top first and foremost is forgiveness. 100%. Learning how to let go of any ill will I have. I mean, and this is obviously a work in progress. It is for all of us, but let go of any ill will or judgment I have towards others, forgiving myself for the mistakes that I've made or not feeling like, I am where I should be. First and foremost is forgiveness. If I know, because I've seen it, if I'm carrying around any sort of resentment, any sort of harsh expectations, harsh judgment, I just can't show up in the way I need to really serve. It's like something closes in my heart or in my ability to really add value to people. So first and foremost is 100% forgiveness. Second, I would say is really developing the ability to be curious and recognizing when just being really open to like, what am I curious? This is how my Instagram business started. How Instagram became a part of my business. I was just curious about it. I was just for some reason, I was driven to find out about it. There was a huge okay, I'm interested. I want to push further on this. So I'm open, but I'm always open to information. I'm selective with what I actually put my time into. But when something catches my eye, when I'm like, ooh, I'm interested in that for some reason. For some reason, I'm driven to find out more about that. I've really learned to pay attention to that. And to, when I have time allowing or whatever, but dig into it a little bit and be like, what is it I see here that I'm so interested in? Because it might, Instagram is not going to be the app forever. My business is probably going to evolve. And same with everybody listening, you're probably going to evolve, because who you can help now is very different than who you can help 10 years from now. So I'm always very aware and very cognizant of when I get curious about something and investing a little bit of time into it and being like, why am I so curious about that? What is this for me? And then I would say the third thing, what would be the third potential habit? I really, really struggled with self-discipline and essentially kind of staying on track and scheduling when I first started working for myself. If you've had a job most of your life, the one thing that you take for granted is that you're given structure. I took that for granted, right? Is that you're given structure when you go into that job. So you don't need to worry about that part. You don't need to worry about the part where you don't know what to do or how your day is blocked out. When you start working for yourself, holy man, it's a different ballgame. So I would say the self-discipline and learning how to structure myself, this ties in a lot with forgiveness, with being okay with when you don't do enough that day or whatever. So the self-discipline, and what I do, what really works for me, is for my days that I'm going to be working, I make a list of 3 to 5 things that I need to do that day. I stay on the first thing until it's done. And then I do whatever I want to do. I take a break, whatever. And then I stay on the second thing until it's done. Take a break, whatever. And the things that the biggest struggle I had is well, am I focusing on the right thing? And it's you don't know that till you do it. That's being I don't know. To me, that's putting the cart before the horse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You just need to make the things that you think you should be focusing on, that feel right, that you're being told to focus on, execute them, and then see the results. And okay, so if that didn't create what you needed to create, cool, we'll change the thing. But you need the habit of being able to structure yourself, to have your own, when you're working for yourself on your own time frame, and also being able to just to execute and to focus and to work in that way.
Share with us your top 3 max potential habits that you believe got you where you are today.
Absolutely. This is a question that when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is a really powerful question. And I think my first habit was probably just the ability to focus. And it's something that I struggle with tremendously. But just understanding that it takes work to focus. I think there's a Steve Jobs quote that said, you have to work to be focused. You have to work to get to simplicity. And especially related to design, is something that you have to work really, really hard at doing. So it's also understanding that focus is not something that happens overnight, because there are so many different options, especially when you start thinking in that entrepreneurial way. You see opportunities literally everywhere. You can't go after all of them. So it takes work to focus, but understanding and doing every quarter for me, I started to do, allowed me to understand that I can work on something and I can figure out whatever my formula is and change that formula every quarter. Not the entire formula, but maybe just mix one thing that's different. So that is, part of, one of the habits that I try to do is to do those quarterly kind of check-ins and to focus a lot more. The second one is exploring. That's really big. I think that's something that we kind of touched on a few things, is exploring and testing out different ideas. It's inherently a marketing strategy and thing that you should do. But I think just in business and in life and trying out different ideas has been really a foundational principle for me. And then the third one, maybe not as sexy, but it is time blocking. Time blocking has been tremendous for me. I think when I started to understand I don't have infinite energy and time, it started to make me be really strategic about like how to use my time and how to leverage my time throughout my weeks, my days, my quarters, as I mentioned. And it helped me to, I think, look long term, but at the same time be as efficient as I can in this period of time. So those will probably be the three ones that really, I think, helped me out tremendously. But yeah, it's been phenomenal.
What would you say for you have been your top 3 max potential habits that have gotten you where you are today?
Great question. One is I'm always hungry to learn, and I don't know, that started when I was a kid. So all I've had to do is kind of feed that. For whatever the reason, it was kind of in my DNA, and so I'm always hungry to learn. I'm always learning new things. I'm always trying new things. I'd say the other habit is I'm very connected to my vision. And when we do vision work with the 12-week year, we don't just do it around your business. We start with your life, because business is part of life. So there's an emotional connection to what I'm doing Monday through Friday and the life I want to live. The other one is just understanding that there's a price to pay. Anything worthwhile takes effort. So I've been willing to pay that price on a daily basis. Now, I'm not, it sounds like I'm the superhero. I'm not. I don't execute perfectly. There's weeks I stumble, but week in, week out, day in, day out, I'm clear on the fact that, look, if I want to live this life, I have to do these things, whatever that takes. If I want to be healthy, I got to go to the gym. I got to eat better. And it's not going from one diet to the next. It's not going from, South Beach to paleo to keto. It's about daily habit. It's the daily mundane, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I've been clear on that, and I think, willing to pay that price on a daily basis.
What would you say are 3 max potential habits that helped you get where you are today?
I would say know what you want. For so many years, I give that power away to people. I let them decide for me on things.
Yeah.
And right now, was it a couple of weeks ago, my youngest daughter came to me and said, one of his her fellow band members is annoyed with her because she refused to choose what instrument she want to play for that period. And something just went ding, 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 ding in my head. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's have a talk about this. I said, you must always choose. You cannot let other people decide for you. I mean, in most situations, when you don't know what you want, it's easy for you to be led astray. It's easy for you to pick up other people's agendas. It's easy for you just to go with the flow. Okay, but when you know what you want, you have a big picture of what you want to do, where you want to go. All of your activities, the decisions you make, they are informed by that, by knowing what you want. So I think that's the biggest thing for almost everybody. Decide what you want. What do you want to achieve?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's
powerful.
if you can answer that question, then everything else will be easy, because then you'll know what to tackle. You know what to put your energy on.
Yeah.
Second thing, I would say use a planner. However,
Yes.
however, electronically or physical. I like the physical because it reminds. There's like a beautiful quote on it, and it reminds me to be powerful and to be creative and all that. Because it just, with everything that I have to do, I have to be able to really see a big picture of where the days are going, where the weeks are going, the months are going, the year are going. Some things are planned like a year and a half, 2 years in advance. So a planner or some kind of place where you keep everything together that makes sense to you, I think that's invaluable. That's invaluable. Another one is, don't be afraid to ask for help. That's really one. Oh my gosh, I have really that issue. I don't know if it was because I didn't really grow up with my mom and dad, so there was really no one for me to ask for anything. And perhaps that's why I learned how to do so many things. Because I didn't have mom and dad to say, "Mom, I want this," "Dad, I want this." So asking is a very difficult thing for me to do. But I realized asking is one of the biggest success secrets ever. Because something that could take you just, a day to answer, now you're trying to answer it in a week, in a month, when you could have just make a phone call or send a message and ask for help, and boom, it's right here.
Yeah.
Asking for help can really shorten your learning curve.
You've given a lot of good tips there. So I think 3 max potential habits for business would be amazing.
I like this question. And I'm winging it.
Go for it.
Curiosity.
Ooh, good one.
Consistency. And a willingness to struggle.
Ooh, that's a really great one.
People will tell me, Robert, you live this purposeful life. You live in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. You have a good life. You've written a book. You're influencing the world. You get up on stage and talk in front of people, and you seem energized and passionate. And people will talk to me about purpose and passion. And I was saying at this workshop I spoke at this weekend, I said, honestly, I've never asked myself, what is my purpose? I've never have. And, I know a lot of men's coaches say, man, you got to find your purpose. You got to live it with passion. I agree. We need to live purposefully and with passion, but I've never actually set out to look for my purpose. But what I've done is I've been willing to struggle with things. So like when I said, when I started going to like a 12-step group, all right, I need to figure some things out about me. Why did I act in this way? What do I need to do differently? Or then, when I started hearing nice guys saying the same thing I was, well, okay, what's this about? So what I was shared like in this workshop this weekend is that everything that I do in my life, everything I've written, talked about here, have been stuff I've struggled with. I mean, I still bungle my way through relationships, and I had a PhD in marriage and family therapy at 29. I'm still trying to figure out relationships, and I keep learning, and what I learn, I then share with people. So there's a willingness to struggle in there. Okay, I'm going to struggle. I'll go to therapy. I'll get a coach. I'm in a men's program now. I've been in the last 2 years. I've had a coach and in a men's program. We do workshops, retreats. We meet regularly. I've started smaller groups to help me with my exercise, with my writing, with other commitments. So, I still struggle with stuff. I still go get these resources to help me. I'm still curious as to, okay, why am I struggling? Why isn't this working? How come I'm procrastinating? I'm curious about stuff.
Yeah.
And I would say at least the feedback I get from people that know me, other men they'll say, Robert, I really respect your consistency. You'll stick with stuff, and get all the way through it. Because a lot of men can be a little bit impulsive, like, oh, I'll do this get rich scheme, or I'll dive into this thing, or I'll do this deep dive into this topic. And then, 3 weeks or 3 months later, they're bored, moving on to something else. So I think my ability to stick with something over time has paid off.
I really want to know what you think the top 3 habits are for developing and fostering a fulfilling relationship.
So I would say number one, self-awareness. I mean, you're going to have that anywhere in business too. I think it's a really important one.
Yeah.
Just really understanding and listening to yourself. And as this like sub thing to that, it's that honesty, like, really being honest with yourself, what it is that really is aligned for you.
Yeah.
And that's, like I also said, takes kind of moving beyond the webs of these things that we're not even aware of, that we're taking on, that aren't us. So that takes kind of a regular practice, I think, to get to. Definitely took that for me.
Yeah.
Because certainly I had no idea how I was operating in the world until I chose to figure it out. And then choice is a good one. Choice is a good one. Like being willing to be in choice. Like, you have that power. You get to choose. You get to choose and experience and choose again and choose again. It's beginning again, beginning again, beginning again, all the time, So whereas, if you're not doing that, you may be spiraling into, oh, I did it wrong, I'm never going to succeed. But really it's choose again, choose again, choose again, choose again.
I love that.
And then what would be the third one? So many good ones. I'm gonna, this is something that I've been playing with more recently that comes from a body of work called Access Consciousness. And it's really being in the question, like, and RIM is like that too. Like you're really kind of exploring what wants to happen now. Like what wants to happen now? What would I love? Those are kind of two, what else is possible? Those are some fun questions to be in all the time, because the power of a question is that, what we know of, what we're aware of in our life, kind of like the conscious thing. It's like such a small percentage of, our awareness is that small conscious space. When you use a question, it actually naturally brings you out beyond that. It asks the universe, it asks spirit, it asks whatever you want to call it, to show you something beyond that. Like what wants to happen is beyond your conscious awareness in the moment. And you sense it, you notice, okay, I'm drawn to this. And then you do that, make that choice. And so that's how we keep moving. And to me, it's life-changing, these things.
I want to know, what are your top 3 max potential habits that you believe got you where you are today?
Man, this is a great question. I believe the first one is just being able to sit with myself. So meditation, right? Like if you can't just be in the silence, and even, people who are close to me who are super about personal development, I even hear from them, like I have things coming up when I meditate that I don't want to think about, like from my past, and I don't want to share it with anyone. I've never shared it with anyone. And I'm like, God, that must suck, because thankfully I've been with so many coaches, so many safe spaces to be able to share those deep, dark insecurities and stuff that I never wanted anyone to know. Right. And so I was able to share that. So meditating, I believe, allowed it to come up and allowed me to kind of just sit with it and not judge myself so much. So that's number one, is meditation. Sit with yourself, whatever's happened, learn to create a space of non-judgment, of forgiveness and love about yourself. But that's one. The other one is really, for me, a big transformation, a habit, so to speak, a habit of mindset, was going from how can I get and how can I make money from this person, from this relationship, into how can I serve in this relationship. So every day to check myself, like, why am I going into this conversation? Am I going into this conversation to get, or am I going in to serve and to ask, how can I really make a difference for this person? So that's a habit. It's a simple check You can have a reminder on your phone. You can put a sticky note on your fridge, on your mirror, wherever. Like, am I coming from service, right? Am I coming to truly serve this person? And then the third one, I would say it's really investing time, money, energy into the things that I believe in, into the values that I want to grow in myself, whether that's coaching, whether that's, hiring coach, getting into seminars, getting into these different places. I have made myself a habit of investing into my personal growth, into my development, and investing into new experiences, right? It's like being conscious of, how do I invest my time? That there's this habit of time prioritization, time allocation. How do you invest your time? And I think that's good. And I also think, like, the energy, where are you investing your energy? Your time invested, that shows you what's important to you. And so for me, I invest my energy into new experiences with my girlfriend. We go do new things. We just did like naked yoga by candlelight in our own private house, which was a ton of fun. I like had it on my list of 101 things to do. And I'm like, let's do it, just to like feel free about ourselves. Yeah. So it's like, it doesn't even have to cost money necessarily. Although I feel when you do invest that money, you're more invested. You care about the experience more. But just like do new things, try something you've never done before. Do your first time for something. Go to the grocery store, try a new vegetable that you've never tried before. Just do new things. Invest your energy, your time, your focus into the values that are important to you.
Okay, so what would you say are your top 3 max potential habits that have gotten you where you are today?
Okay, well, we just talked about the one, taking time for me.
Okay.
Right? That relaxation before I pick up the kids. But also, I used to be huge into working at night after my kids went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And, now making sure that is time for myself or me and my husband, making sure that I take care of myself. That whole idea of, you can't fill from an empty cup.
Awesome. Okay.
That has been one of the biggest things. Being super mindful of what I am doing or not doing and why I am doing it or not doing it.
Okay. So being mindful of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
I gotta add to that, like, people, it seems so obvious, but it's not.
No.
And it relates back to the productivity and busyness. We get busy, and we don't even stop to ask ourselves, like, is this actually important? It's like being, you said, the hamster wheel.
Yes.
Like, you're on the hamster wheel, you're going, and you don't stop to go, is this actually important?
Yes. Well, okay. So you'll appreciate this short story if I might share it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a while back, there was, I don't know, someone was looking for somebody to help in a Facebook group or something like that. I can't even remember exactly what it was now. And I looked and I went, oh, that would be so awesome. It fits with where I am and what I love to do. And I should, check into this and maybe apply for this. And so you get really excited about things, right? You think this is going to be awesome. And I've learned, don't just jump in. I took 5 minutes and I said, does this fit the values of where I want my business to go? And not just in the sense of what I want to do to grow my business, but their business model. Do their values fit my values? And where is my time going to go then? What am I giving up to do this?
Wow,
and
those are such powerful questions. Yes.
Killed the excitement.
Yep.
Which was a good thing because I really did not need to take that on.
Yeah. Okay, everyone listening, there's so much gold in what you just said, because I think what happens is we get infatuated with ideas of how great something can be without stopping to look at the balanced perspective and asking, and then we want to just jump in and we want to go, yes, without being mindful of what's the other side of it.
Yes.
What is this actually going to commit me to, and what will the outcome be, and how am I getting entangled with that person?
Right.
Is that someone I want to be partnered with in a business venture? All those questions, right?
Yes.
That is awesome. I love that. That's good. That's power. Okay. What would you say number 3?
So then the last part is basically systems, the systems that work for me and not trying to follow along with what works for everybody else.
So tell us, what would you say, in starting your business and making it a successful, thriving business, what have been the top 3 max potential habits that you've implemented to get where you are today?
Sure. So one of the things that really did it for me, and this is going to be a little woo and out there for some of your listeners, but that's okay.
Totally.
I became a master manifester. And because I have a pretty extensive education in Vedic sciences, which is where the law of attraction really came, where we had first met it, but also meditation and yoga. And so I went back to like OG manifestation rules, not this pop stuff. And I dug my heels in and I went crazy with it. And I still do a manifestation meditation every single day. And it's beautiful because it works not only spiritually, but whatever your brain thinks is real, it starts to create and push you towards. And when you have a very powerful vision of where you're going, what it's going to feel like with all of your senses, as if it's remembering something in the future, then anything can happen in the now, but you're going to get to that future. And then maybe this thing that's happening is going to help you get there. And that's how you get into this mentality of life happens for me, not to me. Because okay, I lost 3 clients in a day. There was actually a week where I lost 11 clients. I have no idea what happened. It was almost all my entire book, right? And I knew, because I knew where I was going, this is going to teach me something. And I started looking for the lessons and the learnings and the strengths that I could get from them. And that mentality was probably the most important thing, and probably is still the most important thing that helps me generate the energy, the inspiration, and the courage to go after what I want.
Wow.
So
okay,
I'd say that's one.
Okay, awesome. I want to highlight, I love that you said the lessons and the learnings. I tell people to focus on the lessons, not the losses. So in that moment, you could have totally folded and sabotaged and run away because it was too damn uncomfortable. But
Sure.
Instead, you focused on the lessons and the learnings and flipped it through. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine as a manifester, you would sit and wonder like, whoa, what's going on for me to have manifested the loss of 11 clients in a short period of time? But you turned it around. That's awesome.
Well, because the thing is also that you need to be a good receiver. You can't just ask for what you want. You need to be able to really receive it all. That's another thing that I got really good at. That could even be another habit, is learning how to really, truly receive whatever is headed your way. Because sometimes, look, we're myopic. We're children, okay? You ever seen a child freak out because they didn't get a candy bar because mom wanted to give the kid like a good, nutritious meal, right? And you know what usually happens after that? The kid gets the candy bar as dessert. So yes. I had that view of saying like, yeah, 11 clients left. What happens if this is making room for something truly amazing? What happens if I just receive this and assume that there's a gift in it? If I reject that, I reject the gift.
Yeah, and instead of trying to avoid the pain.
Right.
Embrace
Maybe there's something beautiful in it. Maybe I'm just too myopic to see it now.
I love that. I want to highlight too, you're making me think of something I really had to work through, was that receiving part. Like even receiving a compliment used to make me feel really uncomfortable. Yeah. So if I can't receive a compliment and I can't receive help, how am I going to receive a multi-million-dollar business?
Right. Exactly.
Like that would make me so uncomfortable. The old me would have been completely uncomfortable with that, which means the universe would never bring it to me. But the more comfortable I've gotten with receiving even compliments, I notice it changes everything. It's like, I love that you highlighted learning to receive. It's very powerful.
Yeah. I mean, it was really funny that, I would be broke and I'd see a nickel on the ground and I wouldn't pick it up because it wasn't enough. Right. So I'd be asking for money and money would show up and I'd say, no, not that money.
Yeah.
Right. And retarded. It did make no sense. And for me, it was just like, cool. So I'm asking for gifts and I'm rejecting all the gifts that I get. So why would I keep on getting more gifts? And so I flipped that around and said, you know what? I'm just going to receive.
Yeah.
Now still too, I pick up pennies because to me, it's thank you, universe, for sending me a little bit more love. Any compliment, thank you very much, without feeling like I need to return a compliment to get the pressure off me or whatever. I just receive that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. That's juicy.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So far we have manifestation and learning to receive, even though that wasn't your number 2, but if you want to add it, that's great.
No, that's totally cool. I think it's actually really important.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that I was thinking of, but it is
Yeah.
a really big deal.
Yeah.
Because I think that people, and you might have someone listening right now saying, Dan, no, business tips. These are business tips.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're so right. I think that it's fascinating sometimes to work with business people. To me, human nature is human nature, and universal laws are universal laws, and they apply to everyday people. They apply to multimillionaires. They apply to people on the street. They apply to everybody. And so wherever you're at in your business building adventures, these principles absolutely matter. And the habits are really all the same. They're success habits,
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And for any goal, because what I saw and still what I see these days is that you can give the best business strategy to 2 different people.
Mm-hmm.
One person will fail catastrophically and one person will succeed beyond measure.
Yeah.
And the strategies are the same, but the differences are these habits.
Yeah. Yes.
So it went to me, and that's why I've worked with a lot of business coaches who have no idea how I became so successful with nothing. And I told them it's this.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
And,
okay. Tell us another. So manifestation, learning to receive, and then what else would you say?
Real deep gratitude.
I love it. Okay.
But one of the things that I love doing is picking at common advice, because I think most of it is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it bugs me. It's like nails on chalkboard whenever some super famous dude who has the opportunity to create or gal, real create change, and will say something silly like wake up and write down 10 things you're grateful for and it'll change your life. No, it won't. No, it won't. Because one thing I ask this anytime I teach gratitude at big events, and the average time people go through this is a whopping 3 days before they give it up. Because what happens is they've forgotten the most important part of gratitude, the thing that makes it work, which is your emotional connection to it. So the thing here is that gratitude is not something that happens to you. Because if your life sucks right now, when you wake up, what am I grateful for? Nothing. Great, I'm screwed. Right? You're done. So you ask, what could I be grateful for? It's like going to the gym. That's why it's called a gratitude practice, because you can practice and you can get better at gratitude and developing that real beautiful, incredible heart connection. I teach my clients how to be grateful for absolutely anything, literally anything. It starts off with looking around the apartment at the first object you see and asking, how could I be grateful for this? And then you get an answer. And you ask why, or how could I be grateful for that answer? And how could I be grateful for that answer? Always seeking something that is closer and closer and closer to your heart, to who you are, to what's important to you. And what's interesting is when they do that, they see that they can connect almost anything around them to the things that matter most to them. And all of a sudden, a mug is not just a mug, right? It's a connection with who you are. Your cell phone is not just a cell phone. Your knife is not just a knife. And you look around and you realize that you are already abundant, no matter what you have. And that energy, if you want to attract abundance in your life, already feel abundant. Right? Because when you want something, it actually sets out to the universe. You don't have it. That's the unconscious focus. But when you already have it, you say, I love this abundance. I love everything that I have, and I would love even more. Then more will follow. But the beautiful thing is, when you meet someone, you ever met someone who's truly grateful, right, is an amazing receiver and has that connection where they can manifest what they want, aren't they just incredibly magnetic?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right? Like they walk into a room, like I need to speak with this person. I have to speak with this person.
Yeah.
So when you have these installed, you will attract clients to you like crazy.
Tell us, what would you say are your top 3 max potential habits that you think got you where you are today?
I talk about what I value. So I am in the practice of sharing what is important to me when I set a goal and I'm talking to somebody about it, what made that goal important right now? And what are my values, my personal values that support that? Because if I'm going to ask for help, if I'm going to ask for insight, if I'm going to ask for advice, somebody needs to know what to do. So I'm creating that shape for that. Now, that also means on the other side, when I'm creating the shape for that, I can make sure I know what my litmus test is to recognize the people that I'm sharing it with, like at Red Direction, or even in my family. Am I being heard the way I intended to be heard? Are the words that I'm saying actually resonating? So the concept of talking about what I value is a habit that I didn't know that I had, and I also didn't fully utilize it. And so that is something that over time I've recognized, okay, this is the commonality. I'm not using it enough. And when I see the change, it's because I use it more and I have it front and center. And so it is front and center of me, with me every day, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed and all through my dreams at night.
Okay, so let me real quick. So in the summary of that statement, it's like, okay, so your number one habit is being able to articulate your value and with others.
To talk about what I value with others. Okay. And the reason it matters then.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay.
So the second one is one of my personal core values that shows up everywhere, which is to be curious. Mm-hmm. The more I'm willing to be curious, the more those around me are willing to be curious, the further we go, faster. Mm-hmm. The third is to be present. There are so many things that you and I could be doing. There are so many things coming up right after this. And there are so many things that happened right before this that if the habit of being present in that moment means, of course, all that matters, just not while we're together. Because I do you a disservice when I'm not present. And I also miss out on the opportunity of really understanding what we can get out of our interaction and figuring out future possibility and what the shape of how we can create what that can be. So the third one is to be present.
So tell us 3 max potential habits that you feel like have been impactful in getting you where you are in any area of life or business.
Yeah, I will say the first one is staying in the listening. It is something that I think makes me a natural coach and makes every interaction that I have even richer, because I really enjoy staying in the present moment and being in the listening. And it's about listening to what's being said and what's being unsaid. Mm-hmm. And this has helped me in business. This has helped me in intimate relationship. This has helped me in all areas of my life, really staying in the listening as opposed to future tripping or, going into some past pain, but just staying present in the listening.
Okay.
The other I would say is my evening and morning routine that is critical to to my life, to my success, to my well-being, and quite simply knowing the way that I can optimize my time and energy best. Mm-hmm. So that's something too, and I'm happy to share.
Yeah, I'm curious. Sure. What do you do? I do a morning and evening routine as well. Yeah. I'm curious what is yours.
So my evening is, and I'm a morning person. I'm not a night person. So okay. I'm often like lights out by like 9:30.
Okay.
So before I go to bed, I put my phone into airplane mode. I take a very, very, very hot shower. I get into bed and I have a 10-minute sleep meditation that I listen to, and then I'm out like a light.
Wonderful.
When I get up in the morning, and I'm usually up 5:30, first thing I do is meditate. After I meditate, I drink a large mason jar of warm water with lemon. and then I'll read and write in my journal, all sort of happening right then and there. And then once all of that is complete, I will put my phone back on Wi-Fi and have my coffee.
Nice. It's awesome. Boundaries, right? Even that is the boundary. The Wi-Fi turning off is a boundary.
I've been doing this now for almost 4 years. I would literally say this is the number one practice I would credit for completely shifting my energy when I wake up in the morning. I used to wake up someone who thought, what do I need to worry about today?
Yeah.
What do I need to worry about today?
Yeah. And instead you're priming yourself through meditation, journaling, relaxation, connecting with yourself to gear yourself up to be inspired all day long.
Yeah. And sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 2 hours before I put my Wi-Fi back on. And, the world hasn't come to an end.
Yeah.
And my people in my life who are close to me know that even if something horrible happens, I'll find out when I put my Wi-Fi back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even if something wonderful happens, let's say
yes,
both.
Yes.
I'll find out. And fortunately, I'm up early enough in the morning that, my Wi-Fi is generally back on before like the rest of, people are doing whatever. So it's not a big deal. But for me to wake up and not look at my phone and see all the notifications and not get sucked into anyone else's urgency, it's like not mine. I'm going to do what I need to do for me first.
That's powerful. I love that. Try that out, everyone. Listen, just for a week. Try it out and see how you feel.
See it. And then I would say the third thing is getting out in nature. I live in Boulder. I'm a big hiker, and it's really important to me to be able to get out in nature and, just be.
I want to ask you, what are your top 3 max potential habits that you believe got you where you are today? And that can be I know success means something different to everybody, but at your level of success and in your life that you're creating that's fulfilling for you, your business, your relationship, what would you say are 3 of your most foundational habits that got you where you are?
So if I go back to the beginning, the things that got me to where I are, and I love the title of the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Mm-hmm. And so in the beginning, there were very different habits than what they are now. Because in the beginning, it was getting there. Now it's growing it and maintaining it. It's very different habits. Yeah. And so getting there, which is that first piece, kind of step 1, there's a formula I realized. And step 1 is you got to figure out what works. And so I went on a hunt of what works. Mm-hmm. And so the very first thing I did that helped me get there was just massively immersing myself in learning as much as I possibly could. And I just hunted down knowledge and information, and I watched for people who were doing it, and I listened to them, and I attended seminars and workshops and boot camps and trainings. And, I got piles of books back here. I don't know if I can hold them up. Let me see. I'll grab a handful. So I've been studying, I've been studying business the last 5 years. And so I got piles and piles of business books that, I'm constantly thumbing through and reading. And then on top
you see it in my background there.
That's right.
Right. That would be my number 1 as well.
Beyond business, this is level 1 and level 2 of Gottman relationship, marriage and family therapy training.
Nice.
And so relationship is the other thing. And the way I figured this out was when you're hunting to figure out what works, I figured something out early, which was, hey, wait a minute. If I wanted to become a PhD in this topic, a doctorate level of understanding, how long should it take, and how much information should I acquire, and what should I be proficient at in order to call myself a PhD in a topic? And I went and found a curriculum for a PhD course. And then I created my own version. I said, I'm going to create my own personal PhD. And the first one I started with was relationships. And I spent 5 years before meeting my wife, 5 years since we've been married, 6. So I'm on 10, 11 years of my research and application of intimate relationship study and application. And I'm working towards my doctorate, my personal PhD in relationships.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly reading books, constantly taking courses, constantly applying it in our own life. And I use this little philosophy, which is learn it, live it, give it. So learn what it takes to get the results you desire and deserve, live it, apply it fully in your own life, then give it and pay it forward and help others do the same. Lots of people like to learn it and then preach about it. And they haven't done it themselves. So they don't know the real firsthand experience of how it goes down in their own life. Or they tried it, screwed it up, and don't talk about those things. But live it, figure out how to make it work by using the tools. So one, acquiring a massive amount of knowledge, my personal PhD. I think I'm like 5 or 6 years into my business personal PhD right now, and 11 years into my relationship one. And I have more I want to do after that, but these are the first ones I'm starting with. Besides that, so acquiring knowledge, other habits. I tried to figure out what's the minimum investment necessary to get the maximum ROI as quickly as possible, first thing in the morning. And what I mean is everyone talks about the whole wheel of life, all these categories you got to do good at. You got to do good in your health, your emotions, your relationship, your finance, your business, your spiritual life, giving, all these things. And I looked at the amount of time I needed to invest into my business to grow it in the beginning, which is basically all the time you have to get it off the ground. And I was like, how in the world am I going to fit
every second of the day?
Every waking moment is what it takes to get a business off the ground. It's true in the beginning.
It's definitely true.
And I looked at all these other pieces and I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to fit anything else in my life in if every waking moment is required to drive this business forward? And so I said, wait a minute. Minimum investment for maximum return. And I said, I wonder if I could get 5 out of 7 boxes checked within the first 60 minutes of each day. Like, I don't know if there's an answer, but I'm going to propose a question, see if we can get something. And I sat down and I was like, okay, health and fitness. That's easy. I'll go for a run. Emotions. On the run, I had heard about this concept of doing an emotional flood. Flooding into my mind and body all the things I'm grateful for, excited about, dreaming about, working towards, all affirmations, incantations, saying these phrases to power myself up, speaking aloud my 20-year vision for my life, speaking aloud my 1-year goals and commitments for the day. So like, that's emotions and fitness. So I take a run, and on the run, I think and speak these goals and affirmations and incantations and emotions and things, gratitude. And then I was like, well, spiritual, wow. I could say a prayer. I could connect with nature. I could connect with the universe and God as finishing that run and coming back home. There's 3. I was like, relationships. I don't really like going running with people. I like running by myself. I was like, but I could think of someone I love and flood good energy into them on the run. And I could write them a quick text message or email, just real quick, the moment I get home, and tell them 3 things I really appreciate about them. It's like, relationships, got it. So I got 4. Business. Like, nah, I'm going to spend all day doing that anyways. Finances. It's kind of at that point when you're just launching a business is tied to finances. So I'm like, it's kind of tied together. It's like giving back. I was like, what if I look for a random act of kindness I could do each day on a run, whether it's helping an animal, helping the planet, which is like picking up a random piece of trash or something, whether it's helping a person, doing something kind for somebody. Like, bingo. I've literally got 6 out of 8 things or 5 out of 7 things covered within the first 60 minutes of waking up. Now I give myself permission to spend the rest of my waking hours crushing it in business to get this thing off the ground. Now, that has changed dramatically over the years. That was to get here, total and absolute focus and intensity. And I needed to get all those things covered in the first 60 minutes to give myself all day and night. And I worked from 7 a.m. to probably 9 p.m. every day, 7 days a week for, God, how many years was that? Probably 4, 5, 6 years. to get real traction and off the ground before I changed my schedule a little.
Yeah.
And at that time I was living in the front den of a house. I had 3 other roommates. So I lived in the front den. I had a curtain as a door. I had a laptop, the internet, and a cell phone, which is all you need to get into the coaching business. I had 250 hours of training and 5 years experience being a coach to start my own little coaching practice. And I ramped that up from $0 to $100,000 in top line revenue within 8 months. And I was like, wow. And making 100,000 in revenue when your rent is $500 and your overhead total is 2,000 a month, feels like you're rich, man.
Yeah.
I was like 24 years old. I'm like, I'm killing it. And so at 24, I felt like I was dominating life somehow and totally crushing it. And I had a lot of learning to do.
Sure.
Because I did all the things to get there. And I made the mistake of not knowing how to then grow it. I just knew how to get there. And so my finances got there, spent it, got there, spent it, got there, spent it. That's what my finances look like. And that's not very good.
Yeah.
And so over time, that next lesson was figuring out what got me here won't get me there.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to education and say, who can I learn from now? Because I figured out and I learned all the basics to get a business off the ground. But I said, who do I go learn from now that'll show me how to actually grow a business?
Yeah.
So I figured out how to get a business off the ground, but I didn't know how to grow a business. And I might refine the words. I thought it was a business. I figured out how to get my private coaching practice off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to grow or run a business. And so I had the transition from a private practice to a business. And that was an interesting transition.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my God, that's totally different.
What would you say are the top 3 max potential habits that you have implemented to get where you are today?
Okay, so
and
number
actually,
1,
I'm gonna ask you 2 sets. I'm gonna ask you for you as a person, and then for people who want to develop a YouTube channel that's successful, what would the top 3 habits be there as well?
Okay, I'm gonna start with YouTube.
Okay, cool.
One is you don't need to show your face. So a lot of people have this idea that, you have to record your face on YouTube channels. And if it's going to create the habit of you producing content, don't show your face. My first video, the Facebook ads one, my face was nowhere near it. I didn't want to show my face. I was scared. So what I did was I just screen recorded me talking, kind of like a podcast, kind of like a video tutorial. And it kind of got me more comfortable. My first few videos were like that. Then eventually I showed my face. Mm-hmm. So go at it, whether it's not showing your face or whatever it is that's holding you back, just take that out of the equation and see if you can do it. Mm-hmm. Then the second habit is really find out your purpose, your belief, and your core principles. Because the last thing that you want to do is you want to build the habits of really knowing what your mission is in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
if your mission is to give back to endangered species, well, make YouTube videos to complement those beliefs in that core system. And the reason for that is because things change as you get older, and as things happen, that all of a sudden you believe in different things. So you want to really know what to stick to and build the habit of reinforcing those beliefs and just sticking to it. Kind of like what you said, the domino effect, and those keystone habits will get you to your core belief and exercising that muscle as much as possible. And then the third habit is learn technical. If you don't know technical stuff like uploading a video, optimizing the keywords, adding the tags, I'm going to tell you your competitor does. So I spend a lot of my time learning some of these little technical things. And it's not because it's the most important thing. The content's what's most important. But you should know how to design a thumbnail. You should know how to do a text. You should know how to optimize titles. Read books on how to make better titles, because that stuff goes a long way. If you ever go on Facebook, you always see these clickbait ads that people are sharing, right? Like big pharma CEO says, screw the public, let's satisfy the shareholders. Those types of titles that get clicks. Yeah. Even though it may not be true, it's still getting the click. That place is still getting the attention.
Yeah.
So, and then as a person, the 3 biggest habits are, 1 is reading. I can tell you're a huge reader. I see a bunch of books in the background.
Yep.
And it's one of those habits to where I spend like 15 minutes a day on. But I swear to God, every time I read, I have something revolutionary to bring to work. And one of those things is the concept of MACJ, which is the madman, architect, carpenter, and judge. And basically, it's a project management philosophy that Harvard uses. And I would have never learned that if I didn't pick up a book. These people that are writing these books are too busy to be Gary Vee, right? These are real impactful billionaires writing. So you need to read it. If you want, that's what your goal wants to be. You need to read what these people are doing. So that's the number one habit. If you don't like reading, you're not going to be successful. I firmly believe that. And then the second one is start building the habit of bettering your relationships in person. So you talked a lot about relationships in the beginning, and you talked about kind of that's what a lot of your podcast is about. And if you can't build a relationship with yourself, like I said before, you're not going to be able to build a relationship with people. So get better at communicating with the people that you love as soon as possible. Get better at, instead of listening to music in the morning, call somebody that you love and talk to them in the morning. It's going to make that much of an impact in your life, because when you leave work, it's all about your personal relationships. And sometimes you need time for that. So I've really focused on getting better at personal relationships, that habit, and it translated in business too. We keep clients for 18 months since we've started. We've had our first client since we've started hanging out with us. And that's because we've strictly focused on keeping those relationships. And then the third habit I would say is really start to hang out with people in an environment of people that you like, and reinforce your beliefs and your core principles and have a vision just like you do. Because the people that don't have that vision, I'm sure they're not going to be on the same page as you, and it's going to become frustrating if you're trying to change yourself. Yeah. So when you're trying to change yourself, hang out with people that are trying to change themselves as well. Go for the better goal, because the people that aren't changing, not only are you not going to change, because you're going to see their contentment and you're going to say, okay, that's, it's okay to be like this. It's okay to sit on this couch and just drink Budweiser. It's okay to do that. It's okay to watch the Sunday game football team instead of making videos, right? So get yourself in that environment, get in the habit of building new friends, and that comes with relationships.
What do you think have been the top 3 habits that you've implemented to get where you are in terms of your relationship to yourself and masculinity?
That's a great question, Amanda. I would say first is meditation. Second is journaling. That's something I've just recently implemented, and it's been life-changing. And the biggest thing, action. Just taking bold action and just doing it and failing. I attribute it to being like a comedian. I've been watching a lot of Seinfeld and how he develops a bit. And I watched him bomb yesterday on stage after years and years and years of him being the badass that he is. He still has to go on stage at a little tiny comedy club and develop an act. And in doing so, he's got brand new material. He lets go of all of his shit that's got him to where he is, and he starts brand new. And so I realized that's how you become successful, is taking small, tiny little steps and being bold in your actions. And over time, you get a little bit of traction and just getting used to being uncomfortable. Being in that hot fire, being uncomfortable has helped me exponentially. I love it now. Now I love bombing. I love going in front of kids. There's 20, 30 of them, and I can't control them. I'm trying to get them to work out, and I just throw my hands up and I just enjoy it. I'm like in the moment, this is okay. And then when I go and speak in front of people and I can look into their eyes and they're like not getting it, I'm just like, I don't care, because it's moving me. I'm getting feedback from them. Okay, this doesn't work. So let me try to find, or not let me try. I will find out, because I will be relentless in the pursuit of becoming the best version of myself. And it's only through action that we can do that. And so I love bombing. I'm not afraid of it. I love being vulnerable. I love falling on my face. And guess what? I get up, I dust myself off, and I keep going. But it's action is the biggest thing that's helped me.
What would your main 3 habits be that you think got you where you are today?
I know this is going to sound extremely simple, but reading, number 1. Nice. I have a goal to, and this isn't even that much, but I have a goal to listen to 1 Audible a month and read 1 book a month. Okay. But I came from I was like a D, F, sometimes C, maybe it was art class or history class, just because I liked history, student in high school. so to read is a big thing for me, which now I read as often as possible. So that was big. It's always expanding and growing further because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And perspective certainly help you. Journaling was huge because, I come a family that doesn't show their emotions as much as well. So just kind of getting a lot of things out of my chest. Plus, my father makes fun of me all the time for this. Is that I'm definitely a big visionary, so I have these ideas like 24/7, and I'm always trying to implement like 30 things at one time. So journaling and then putting them in the correct order of when they should be implemented.
Nice.
And then the one thing that just keeps me sane is working out at least 4 or 5 times a week, as that releases my energy, but it also gives me more energy in order to take on these days, because having multiple businesses with a team, I mean, they become long days. So 12-hour days some days. So it's a lot. So you got to obviously eat well and work out in order to sustain that energy. And also, who said it? Chris Voss was just recently on our podcast, and he said that if you're happy, you're actually 75% more creative. So if you're in a positive, happy mood, you're 75% more creative. So just being in a more positive attitude, allows us to make bigger and better changes.
I want to ask you, what top 3 habits, and I can probably guess what you would say, but I want listeners to know, I ask everybody who comes on the show, because the podcast is called Max Potential Habits. And I like to give people takeaways for what's helped you be successful. So if you had to say what your top 3 habits are that have gotten you where you are today, what would you say that they are?
Well, for me, because my priorities are, teaching, traveling and researching and learning, sharing, giving myself permission to go after what I really, really wanted, and not allowing myself the people on the outside to dictate what that is, and not stopping in the pursuit of finding a strategy to get there, and then documenting what worked and what didn't work each day, because I'm a detail, I guess you say, metric person.
Yeah.
So if I say I want to do something, reach billions of people, whatever, I metric what I do, everything I do.
Yeah.
So that way I do it. So I say there's 7 things, actually. There's 7 questions I mentioned in the right direction.
Yeah.
What is it I'd absolutely love to do in life?
Okay.
How do I get handsomely and beautifully paid to do it? What are the highest priority action steps I can do right now that will move me one step closer towards that, or the highest priority action steps that will give me that? What obstacles might I run into, people or events or situations, that I need to solve in advance? I want to solve them in advance, prevent them. Or if they do happen, what do I do? How do I use them to my advantage? Then what worked today? What didn't work today? How do I do it more effectively and efficiently tomorrow? And no matter what happened today, how is it still helping me get what I want? Those are 7 really powerful questions that can make a difference in a person's life if they stick with those on a daily basis. Type them up, put them on a mirror, put them in your bathroom so you have to look at them when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and run through those until they become part of your nature.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Max Potential Habits podcast. If you're liking what you've heard, it would be so incredibly awesome if you would subscribe to the channel and leave a 5-star rating and a written review. This helps me help more people while we grow our NFA community so we can rock it out together. For Max Potential Habits resources, go to nfacoaching.com, where you can access all of my resources. There's free ebooks, PDF checklists, a journal template, a business mindset meditation kit, and so much more. Plus, links to NFA coaching on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And if you're super serious about up-leveling, there's also a link to schedule a free consult to work with me in group or one-on-one coaching. Until next time, I hope you have a Max Potential Habits Day where you get inspired to do whatever it takes to transform into the most empowered version of yourself so you can lead a rich, thriving, kick-ass life and business.